Hey everybody, good to see you back once again, and I've got an exciting update as well. We'll start with what is front and center. That's right, work on the engine portion of this project has finally resumed, and that's a good thing because we've worked ahead about as far as we can go. And if I painted this whole batch of parts that have been prepped, maybe only half of them could even find their way back onto the tractor because we've been waiting for this assembly right here. The machine shop contacted me and they had some good news. Work has begun on the replacement cylinder head and they've given it the all clear. They did all the critical tests, didn't find anything really catastrophic with it, and they say that it's a good head to proceed on with renewing the valve seats, setting the valves, machining the surfaces, things like that. So that was a very good bit of news. And upon hearing that report, I took the old cylinder head, placed back on top to seal that area, and then I masked and plugged all of the remaining openings so I could wheel this outside and grind all of the old paint off of just the engine block. Having it in this state helped me to get that clean without worrying about so much of that dust and grit finding its way in. Anything that's still in red will be taken off next, and those pieces will be cleaned individually off the engine. So the plan moving forward, we'll get the old cylinder head back out of the way and continue on with the disassembly to give everything here a thorough cleaning and an adequate reseal / re-gasketing. Unless I find something else along the way that raises an eyebrow and tells me I need to go a bit deeper, that's as much as we are going to be doing. So let's get started. Back off you go. Sorry if I got your hopes up there, buddy. I removed the cross pin from the crankshaft snout. That also requires removing that small set screw that aids in holding it in. So now we've got a puller on the crankshaft pulley, and these are usually not too bad to remove. You can't pull it off by hand, but it's not like it's a tapered press fit that's going to pop or anything. This is just a rather light straight shaft press fit. Single key holds it in alignment. So usually everything comes off without putting up much of a fight. All right, we're moving pretty easy now. There it is. Front cover next. We have to remember this one hidden bolt back here. And then we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the last one just in by a couple threads. Number 8. Oh, and there's 2 oil pan bolts too that come in from the bottom, but I've had the pan off of this once and they were already out, so don't forget those either. Pull this Woodruff key for the crankshaft pulley, and then the oil slinger will slide off. Next, the idler gear and hub. Good backlash on that. I've already loosened the bolt. That helps to progress the video feed along. These are on kind of an alignment bore, so with a dowel, sometimes they need a little bit of help. Yeah, there's your dowel. That's a self-centering shoulder, goes inside that hole. Next, I want to take this tappet side cover off. All 3 of the bolts here have a copper seal that goes beneath the head. It looks like a flat washer, but it's actually copper. Helps to keep the oil leakage under control. Someone made very sure that this gasket was not going to leak. These 2 rather large screws now. They hold this tin, I don't know what to call it. It isn't a guard, I'll call it a retainer. They hold that tin retainer in so that the engine can be rolled upside down with no push rods or rockers or cylinder head on, and the lifters won't completely fall out. They would come up and hit that retainer first. Here you go. I did some digging around for an old tappet board. 5J2115, that's my grandpa's old D2. I scrapped that out 2.5 years ago now. It'll still work. We can just throw all the tappets onto this, keep them all in order. That'll work. Now we unbolt the camshaft thrust plate. There is the first bolt lock washer. And we have to turn the engine somewhat to rotate the next hole in the camshaft around to register with the second bolt. There it is. Upside down again. Pan can come back off. Two base bolts for the oil pump, and it pulls out. And finally, we can withdraw the camshaft. And I am interested to see what the bearings and the journals all look like. I don't expect them to be bad, because this engine did not have much water contamination in it at all. But we'll see. What I'm more concerned of is the time that it spent sitting when I did not have it running. And everything's looking really good yet. I wasn't worried about like lack of lubricity or scoring. I was worried more about etching from moisture that had been on static surfaces. I'm not seeing any of that at all. Bearings all look just as good. I don't think the oil had coolant in it for very long, because I'm betting the 1.5 almost 2 years this tractor spent sitting, that gave that cylinder head time to just slowly leak down number 4. It accumulated in the pan, and then when I went and started it to bring it up here, it likely picked up anything that had been around the bottom in the sump and circulated it, then mixed it. That's what turned the oil slightly milky, and it really didn't have any runtime on it to hurt anything, and there wasn't enough water in to lose the lubrication factor in the oil anyway. It never really ran under load that way, so I'm feeling pretty good about the rest of this engine. I don't think we're going to pull any caps, any mains. After seeing this, the etching was what I was mainly worried about, and none is present, so we move on. Now that the cam is out of the way, we can take the intermediate cover off, because there's one final gasket back behind it that I want to replace. We are this far, no sense in not doing anything with it now, but we've got these last 2 bolts, and one of the few places IH uses fold-over locks in the engine, but look at these things. They're just expertly folded, crisp and clean, and that last guy must have been one of those really fussy ones that's just an absolute pain. The side water jacket cover is up next. This is another one that last guy really stuck in place. Boy, he just did not want that to leak at all. But has the water directors on behind it. Lots of goop on that one. And we'll go over one last time. Final order of business is to disassemble and remove the rear main seal. And I've often said these setups on the H's and the M's and just about all these IH engines of this vintage just kind of seem like an afterthought design to me. It's like they built the whole crankcase and they threw a front main in and they threw a rear main in, and then they're like, how are we going to seal this big void back here? And it's just a lot of different pieces that comprise it. But that's just one of my own observations. It obviously worked. And then we've got this two-piece rear main seal surround goes around the crank shaft. And this is another area where I put a lot of sealer on this because this was my first experience with gasket surfaces that were not absolutely flat. This is a pot metal housing back here, both pieces. I'm still trying to get it separated, but they like to pull and warp around the bolt holes really bad. And when I put this together the first time, I had not experienced that firsthand yet, at least not to the point where it could cause an oil leak. So I'd put this engine all together and ran it for a bit and then had all kinds of oil dumping out of the bell housing, ended up splitting it again and getting back in here and flattening everything, stoning it all out on a flat surface, truing up all the gasket flanges again. New gaskets, plenty of sealer, put it back together. Didn't have a problem after that, but I need to get these separated. There we go. Just having a look at the two-piece felt seal, boy, it looks good too. It was still holding, not leaking back there, but we've got all new ones to throw in, and old gaskets, everything still looked pretty good. We had nice even contact around the flanges, so we will check these for flat again because they do like to pull and heave around those holes. But yeah, it was a pretty solid seal setup yet. There you are, everybody. We're basically down to a short block now, but it does feel good to have the engine this far. And I've got one more round of cleaning left to do, getting all these gasket surfaces ready and threaded holes clean and top deck a lot better than it is. One last clean out of the crankcase. But aside from that, we are ready to turn the corner and start building this back up. It feels really good to have some forward momentum going on this engine finally. That cylinder head snafu really balled this project up and made it so I had to do a lot of things out of the ideal order. But those kinds of roadblocks pop up from time to time when you're doing projects of this scale. Thank you for watching, everyone. We are going to cut the episode right here. I'll do some more cleaning and bring you all back when it's time to start throwing some fresh gaskets, seals, and clean parts back onto that block. And in a perfect world, I'll get a call in another couple days from the machine shop saying, come and get this cylinder head. And we can just, we're getting ahead of ourselves, and I don't even want to jinx it by saying it out loud. Thanks again, everybody.